I imagine if you're watching this, that you're somebody who wants to be the best version of themselves. I imagine that you want to be at peace. I imagine that you want to be a person of love. I imagine that you want to be kind and gentle. Well, one of the things about being human, and it's a really hard thing sometimes for us because we're not really taught this. An analogy that I use is, as you're alive, one part of you is a horse and one part of you is a rider. Your physical self, your mammal self, is a creature, it's an animal. When I do live performances, one of the first questions that I ask folks is can you identify with the word hangry? Getting hungry and angry at the same time. 95% of the audience raises their hands. I'd imagine that 95% of the audience wouldn't starve their children or their pets or their livestock. Why would they be starving themselves? For all sorts of reasons, right? But regardless, you are an animal. Part of you is a mammal. And there is this word, homeostasis. Homeostasis means essentially biological balance. As an animal, you require food and shelter and water. You require comfort. And what's interesting about our body is that it will seek to balance itself. How many people in this world who can relate to the word hangry have gotten hungry and angry at somebody in their life, lashed out in an inappropriate way, had a Snickers or a banana, ate something, and then felt better and apologized? So many of us. As much as we might want to be the best version of ourselves, some days it's going to be difficult. I imagine that you show up with heart and integrity and honor. I try my damnedest too. And some days aren't that easy, especially oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that sheen on me, especially when it's super hot out. A lot of us have a hard time when it's super hot, super cold. Okay. The fascinating part about being human is that you and I, well, we have different horses. Okay. Some of us are big Clydesdales, some of us are ponies or Appaloosas or racehorses. We're all built differently. What some people find very refreshing in hot, humid weather, others find very bothersome. And that's just part of being human. I think it's important that we understand our body and we do our damnedest to take care of it, and we give ourselves grace that when we don't take care of it or we're too busy or distracted to do so, that when we are not our best selves, we show up for ourselves and for the people around us who might suffer from that less than best self. It's a damn shame for us to go through this world trying to be the best that we can be, and then finding out that it's impossible, and then beating ourselves up because we might have got cranky or bitchy at somebody. The other part of this equation, and this is what makes it difficult, being alive is not easy. Every single one of us inherited a garden. Now, let me tell you what I mean. Your life is a garden, but it's not one that you built or grew yourself. It's one that you inherited. You are going to have plants and shrubs and trees given to you from people that made you, from the people that raised you, from the culture and society you're part of. For instance, somebody who is born into or raised in a really religious household, there are a lot of people out there who are terrified of going to hell. There are so many people in this world who are terrified of coming out of the closet because they were raised in a family or a system that taught them that God hated them because he made them that way. I feel so bad for the people who are stuck in the closet because they're worried they're going to go to hell or that God's going to punish them because of misinterpreted scripture, misinterpreted scripture. There's a documentary, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but there's a documentary called 1946, I think. You can find it on YouTube, where essentially prior to 1946, the word homosexual did not appear in the Bible. Wrap your head around that. No version of the Bible prior to 1946 had the word homosexual. But the people who are raised in those families and in those cultures that teach them that being that is horrible are stuck in this garden of misery. Okay. You are going to get handed things from your parents. You're going to get handed things from your people. And just like a garden, sometimes we have to rip them out. Sometimes there are things that we need to pull out of the garden. For instance, when I was a very young child, I knew that I was gay. And I knew that that was not okay to share. I knew that the world was not okay with it. My family was not okay with it. And over the course of my life, I internalized a lot of that homophobia. I was a gay person who didn't like being gay, didn't like myself, hated myself. And that was something that the world gave me, but that was a plant that I could yank out of the garden. But there are some things that we can't. I'll give you a for instance. My parents, like if you ever meet me in person, I'm a big person. I stand at 6'7", I'm about 300 pounds. I'm a large horse. Both of my parents are very large people. Both of my parents, pretty angry people. You know, they're full of love. They've worked hard. They've instilled great values in me and my sister. But they're pretty angry. And that temper and that anger is something that I have to be careful with, because whether or not that's a tree in my garden. And sometimes those things like, I get a little bit irritable when it's hot out. You know, that comes from my parents. And there's not much that I can do about it because I'm very Nordic. My blood, my DNA, my genes are very Northern European. Not raised around the equator. You have a certain set of plants, trees, and shrubs in that garden. And to be the best person you can be, there are some things in that, like homophobia or self-hatred or self-doubt, that you have to work on pulling out. There are some things, like big old trees, that you can't get out of that garden, that you're going to have to learn with and tend around and figure out how to make your best with. But I want to just make sure that you're doing your damnedest to give yourself grace. Because when we want to be full of love, when we want to be the best version, but then we inevitably don't show up with that best version, if you're a person who doesn't like themselves, boy, oh boy, oh boy, that can be something that compounds. You don't like yourself, and then you get bitchy, and then you slash out, and then that could be something where, like, oh, yeah, I'm a piece of shit, or what have you. I don't want you to do that. I want you to give yourself grace. I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to keep your horse balanced. And I want you to remember those plants, trees, and shrubs in that garden that you can't do much about, and the ones you can. Being human is not easy. It's beautiful, and boy, oh boy, is it so worth it. But it's not easy. All my love to you. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself in this world. Take care of your horse. Mind your garden. And make the best of this short life that we all have. All my love to you. You can find my readings, my podcasts, my books on my website at joshsimons.com.